Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. Joining us on the phones, the senior senator from the great state of Texas, Senator John Cornyn. Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning, Chad. I'm doing great. Good to be with you.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you on the program. I know the Senate is back in Washington D.C. The House, not so much. They're not getting back. But is it time for the House and the Senate to get back and start doing work?
Absolutely. We've got important work to do. Today, for example, I had the honor of introducing John Ratcliffe, Congressman John Ratcliffe from Texas, who's been nominated to be the next Director of National Intelligence. And then yesterday we confirmed one of the president's longstanding nominees that had been blocked, and we've got other important work to do. We're going to have a hearing on another federal judge on Thursday in the Judiciary Committee. I think while we're telling people that it's safe to gradually begin to go back to work, observing, of course, all the right protocols about social distancing and personal hygiene, I think it's important that Congress demonstrate that we're not holed up in the fetal position in our homes or some undisclosed location. We need to demonstrate how it can be safely done.
Well, and how does the social distancing and the measures that are being taken in the Senate, how does that impact the job?
Well, it means we need to spread out a lot more.
Yeah.
For example, right now the Intelligence Committee hearing that's going on the Ratcliffe nomination, I introduced him and then I left. I'll be going back in about an hour when it's my time to ask questions along with one of my colleagues. So instead of everybody being all in the same room at the same time with the audience and the press, we're spreading out and have fewer people there, because one thing we do know is that this virus likes a crowd and likes density. And so that's why it's important for us to observe this social distancing as we are racing to come up with a treatment and ultimately with a vaccine.
Senator, yesterday you took to the floor and you said that if essential workers continue to clock in, so must the Senate to act on the next relief bill. And one of the quotes that you had was, "I've returned back to the Senate with a long list of ideas and feedback." What are some of those ideas, and what's some of the feedback that you've received on a next relief bill?
Well, Chad, I can't believe that, but I guess many people have had the same experience, how much work you can get done with Zoom and Skype and webinars and things like that and conference calls. So I've held probably maybe 60 or more video conferences with chambers of commerce, with healthcare professionals, I did an employee town hall at Toyota. So I've heard a lot about how this virus has impacted people's lives, which makes me even more glad that we threw a lifeline to people who, through no fault of their own, are getting a paycheck. And then we're also providing essential support for small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program. As you recall, the original appropriation was $350 billion. That ran out in 2 weeks, and so we replenished it with $320 billion more, these are unbelievable numbers, but that's the size of the problem that we need to deal with. But I've also heard from a number of nonprofits and said, how come you left us out? And additionally, in the PPP program that was designed for small businesses, we found that some large publicly traded companies that have plenty of access to credit got in line and actually crowded out some of the moms and pops. And so we've tried to tweak the criteria, the eligibility for that, to try to hit the intended target. It wasn't to try to hit the large publicly traded corporations that have plenty of access to credit and whose survival is not threatened. It's for small businesses to stay connected to their employees. So a lot of different ideas. And finally, let me just say, one of the things that I think is going to be essential for getting people back to work is some sense by small businesses that they're not going to be hung out to dry by lawsuits, questioning all of their decision at every stage of the process, yes, if they are following Center for Disease Control guidelines as well as direction from the governor and other experts.
The president brought up in his town hall that if another, I guess, a Phase 4 bill were to reach his desk and it did not include a payroll tax cut, that he's not, as of right now, he's not interested in signing a piece of legislation that does not include a payroll tax cut. Where are you on that?
Well, my ears are open. I saw Nancy Pelosi said she's not supportive, and obviously the president said he is, and that sounds to me like the beginning of a negotiation. I think there's going to be a lot of other things that Speaker Pelosi is going to want to have in the bill. They want more support for state and local governments whose sales tax revenue has dropped almost to zero, and their ability to provide police protection and basic services is obviously impacted. We appropriated $150 billion, and I'd like to see how that works before we start opening the federal checkbook again. But I think this is going to be a more lengthy and more complex negotiation.
Visiting with Senator John Cornyn here on the Chad Hasty Show. One of the last times that we spoke, and it was when y'all were talking about the stimulus checks that were going to be sent out. At one point, there was a discussion, I know, from the White House and also from the Senate side, that if a round 2 stimulus goes out, that may happen in May. Does the White House, do they have the authority to do that right now with what you've already passed, or would that have to be a new piece of legislation saying, okay, here's round 2 of stimulus checks?
That would take a new piece of legislation, Chad. But I think we've already passed 4, and I have every expectation there will be a 5th. But at this point, we've spent so much money so quickly, and actually one of the main components of the CARES Act, which was the Main Street lending facility for businesses who have collateral but who need some liquidity and access to credit, that hasn't even been set up yet. So just because Congress flips a switch doesn't mean the money instantaneously gets to where it's intended. So that's why I think tapping the brakes here and seeing how this is implemented makes a lot of sense to me before we decide just to throw more money at the problem.
Right. And this will be the final question I have for you because I know you need to get going soon. What's the sign for you? What's the sign for you to know we're getting back on track, that the economy is getting back on track, and that the American people are getting back on track? Is there a sign? Is there something you're looking for?
Yeah, I think what the challenge for all of us has just been the uncertainty and all the information that we've been receiving, and some of it is intentionally misleading. Other information is more political and has an agenda, a political agenda. You know, we've all figured out how to manage the risk in our lives. Every day when we get out of bed, we're going to encounter some risks, whether it's driving a car to work or the food we eat or our personal habits. So we've figured out how to deal with risk. I think it's the uncertainty that's causing people so much consternation. So I think what we need to do, and I support what Governor Abbott's doing, which is gradually reopening, then stop, pause, see how it's going, but it's really more of a confidence builder. So I think that's another reason for Congress to be back at work, exercising social distancing and personal hygiene and masks where we can't socially distance, because we need to demonstrate how we can safely get back to work. Just like, by the way, the grocery clerks and law enforcement and our doctors and hospitals and nurses have been doing all through this crisis. So I think regaining our confidence again that people can safely function in the workplace is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator, appreciate your time today. We'll let you go and continue to work, and we always appreciate it when you give us some time.
Thanks, Chad. Good to be with you.
Thank you. That's Senator John Cornyn here on the Chad Hasty Show. News Talk KFYO.